Hello again, my name is Shane and I am studying for the private pilot exam and I'm starting with the Federal Aviation Regulations. We're moving on with 43, part 43, which is maintenance, rebuilding, and alteration, and now we're on 43.2 in the FAR AIM. This is the full regulation here, 43.2, records of overhaul and rebuilding. All right, let's read it. This will be my second reading of it. So, A. No person may describe in any required maintenance entry or form an aircraft airframe, aircraft engine, propeller, appliance, or component part as being overhauled unless. So you can't describe something as being overhauled unless it meets these rules. So first, using methods, techniques, and practices acceptable to the administrator, it has been disassembled, cleaned, inspected, repaired as necessary, and reassembled. So, who's the administrator? I looked this up and it is a little bit cloudy, but I think essentially it is the authority that the FAA has placed on, has delegated to someone. So, some person in the FAA who has the authority to judge whether or not you did these things, the disassembling, cleaning, inspecting, and repairing, and reassembling to the correct amount. So you have to do all those things for it to be considered overhauled, but there's more. 2. It has been tested in accordance with approved standards and technical data, or in accordance with current standards and technical data, acceptable to the administrator. So it's been tested and it passed according to the rules of said administrator, which have been developed and documented by the holder of the type certificate, supplemental type certificate, or a material part, process, or appliance approval under Part 21 of this chapter. Okay, what? It has been tested in accordance with approved standards and technical data, or in accordance with current standards and technical data acceptable to the administrator. Okay, so that first one is saying that it's been tested with approved standards, but if that's not the case, then it could be tested in accordance with current standards and technical data that are acceptable to the administrator, which is the authority figure, which have been developed and documented by the holder of the type certificate, supplemental type certificate, or material part, process, or appliance approval under Part 21 of this chapter. I think we can take away from that it's been tested and that it passed. But let's just check out this really quick and see what we're talking about in Part 21. Certification procedures for products and articles. Okay. Seems like a lot to go into for this. So it's been tested and it passed. So these two things, it has to have been disassembled, cleaned, inspected, repaired as necessary, and reassembled, and tested and passed. B. No person may describe in any required maintenance entry or form an aircraft airframe, aircraft engine, propeller, appliance, or component part as being rebuilt unless it has been disassembled, cleaned, inspected, repaired as necessary, reassembled, and tested to the same tolerances and limits as a new item, using either new parts or used parts that either conform to new part tolerances and limits or to approved oversized or undersized dimensions. So you can't call it rebuilt unless it has been rebuilt to the extent that it is just as good as a new part. Okay, so we're talking about rebuilt and overhauled, rebuilding and overhauling. And records. So 43.2 is the rules that allow you to say that something has been overhauled, and the rules that say that something has been rebuilt. Now, overhauled looks like it's just disassembled, cleaned, inspected, repaired as necessary, and reassembled. And then rebuilt is disassembled, cleaned, inspected, repaired as necessary, reassembled, and tested to the same tolerances and limits as a new item. So rebuilt and overhauled are very similar. It looks like the difference is that rebuilt requires that it's tested to the same tolerances of a new item, whereas overhauled is just been tested and found to pass to the requirements of the administrator for an overhaul. Okay, there you have it. 43.2 Records of Overhaul and Rebuilding. That's the second part of 43. I'll be getting a video out for 43.3, persons authorized to perform maintenance, preventative maintenance, rebuilding, and alterations very soon. Let's start flying, ladies and gentlemen, as soon as we can. Have a good day. Bye.